It's episode 73 of the Improv London podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Moses, and this week's guest is Victoria Hogg.
Hello. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here.
We're in my house.
Yes, this is true.
It's good.
And Vic has cooked for me, and I'm not saying that all guests have to do that, but I would very much encourage that.
I feel like I've set a difficult precedent, guys, and I'm sorry about that. It's a Thai red curry, vegetarian, just to FYI.
I mean, I'm just saying, everyone, raise your game. I'd like to know about the origin of Duck Duck Goose.
The origin of Duck Duck Goose.
How did that come into the world?
Okay. So Duck Duck Goose, well, for everyone who doesn't know what this is, it's a free weekly improvisation jam which takes place in South London, in Brixton. It's been going since February 2014, so that's just over 3.5 years now. Anyone can come along and you just put your name in the bucket beforehand and we run a show and you get to get up and do two-person scene and then a montage, and there are always 3 acts as well now. And I'm explaining what it is, but we've had a number of Team DDG on the show already, the superstars that they are. So you know all about the admin side of things.
That's presuming that all the listeners have listened to every single episode, which I very much hope that they have.
Of course they have, Stuart.
Well, that's what I tell myself when I'm alone and cold at night. But what they haven't done is they haven't told us how Duck Duck Goose got started in the first place.
Okay, well, I was doing an intensive, which was a UCB intensive, in a pub in Stockwell called the Priory Arms, and there's a room above it that used to be used fairly often. And then so on day 1, I think, of this intensive, a couple of friends, James and Simon, sat me down and literally one on either side of me, so I couldn't get away during this lunch hour, and said, "Hey, Vic, I think you might like to take over our Monday night. We've done it for a while now, and actually we're moving on to different things, but would you like the space?" And so I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds fun. What am I doing? I have no idea. So I'd done a bit of stand-up and done some sketch stuff and done a bit of radio comedy stuff, all just hobby stuff. And now improv is my new big love. And I thought, yeah, this is the moment to do a thing. So because I'd never been to a jam before, but it just felt like a possibility. I don't know. It was just fate. It was fate. So then I had a chat with some buddies with whom I was doing the Monkey Toast course, and the fantastic Walid said, yeah, he would do it with me. So it was really
sounds like
cool.
Sorry, we'll keep this in. This is Verite, but
we're going to keep it in.
Vic's notes, which she sent to the printer half an hour ago, have now finally arrived.
They're also pointless. And on the other side of the room, look, let's keep on track.
So you'd never been to a jam.
I'd never been to a jam.
But you thought, that's fine, I'll just do a jam. It doesn't matter that I've never been to one.
I don't remember exactly what gave me the impression that it was a good idea for me to do this. It's so ridiculous. Walid, who's a fabulous actor, and his name is Walid Akhtar. So that's...
Normative determinism.
Precisely. Thank you for knowing the correct term. He said yes. So we went along. Before we even started, I think we went along to a C3
something.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't C3 something in those days.
It was C3786 something X.
Yes. Well, that's not quite it, but that'll do.
I always thought that was a bit of a security risk, naming the group after the code to get into the building in which you rehearsed.
No, it's the code that all of those keypads are set to before you set them to your own code.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've been misinformed.
6734X, I think. So if you want to break in somewhere,
I mean, I would say to all our Improv London listeners that we do not endorse the breaking in of places. But if you wish to do so, this is how you do it.
You absolutely mustn't do this, okay? This is what you shouldn't do. Don't go up to any particular keypad like that and go C3467X. That's it.
Right.
C3467X. Don't do that, because that might get you into that room.
Really?
Yeah, if they haven't reprogrammed it.
Oh, well, yeah. So if there's somewhere really new to break into.
Exactly.
Oh, it's a new. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Criminal skills.
Yeah.
But bear that in mind.
Absolutely. So we went on to one of their nights over in Liverpool Street, and I felt like I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Well, I didn't. It was a correct feeling.
Hey.
And of course they were fantastic. Shem and Carleen were just so super slick and professional and kind and generous with their advice. And then so just a few weeks later, Waleed and I started this night, and it was really fun. It was really fun. We only had about half a dozen people the first time.
Yeah.
He and I did a bit, like almost like an act, and then we then the following week, I think we had King Me, and that was Will Searle and Al McGee,
Yes.
and James Marchant. And they put an act together for the night, which was pretty cool. But I actually felt, so we're sitting here, right? And I've got a preposterous amount of notebooks next to me, and they're all different, but they're all well loved. And they are what I write in, because I just write all the time in notebooks in order to... That's how I remember stuff, is to write it down and then read it back. And even then I don't remember it, so it doesn't matter. But I think the reason why I started doing improv notebooks is because I kind of knew unconsciously that I was going to be doing this for a long time,
Right, yeah.
interestingly.
Yeah.
So I even have the page. I'm just quickly flicking. Give me 2 seconds if I can find the book.
It is really interesting whether but whether you decide to record what's happening, say in a workshop or something, or whether you should be present or something like that.
Exactly. Should you be present fully, or should you also be taking notes because they might well serve you importantly later on? And Chris Mead and I are the two kings of taking notes in class, and for me it's how I remember stuff, I think, and also it's really nice to read back when you have been in a class with someone who is making a great impression on you, just to remember their own phraseology.
Yeah.
Although I don't think everyone takes notes like that. Some people just draw cool illustrations and stuff. Oh wait, one second. So I have the notebook from when I was starting DDG, and so I have all the names that it could have been.
Oh,
because
lovely!
This is what I do, right? I just throw names out. I like naming stuff. It's my thing.
Cool.
And so I throw names out, and then finally someone will go, "Yeah, that'll do.
That's a
Can
name.
you just shut up with the naming stuff? We'll use that. We'll use it." So that's what happens. So I have some awful names written down here. Improv Army, a priori. Do we even know what that means? I have no idea.
It means something that you understand going into an argument or something like that.
Thank you.
I believe that's it, Trace.
Why would I write that down? I have no
That's
idea.
good.
Rocking Horse Improv. Never mind the improv.
Never mind the improv.
Oh my god.
But hot dog.
Hot dog.
Why did it become a hot dog?
Would you have liked that? That's so cool. I like hot dog. Should we change it? Let's change it.
Change it.
4th birthday. Just switch it up. Improvnado.
Improvnado.
Improvicane.
Improvicane?
This is-
Well, like Novocaine.
Yeah. Or no, like hurricane,
Oh,
I guess.
right.
Well, it comes straight after improvnado.
Yes, I can see
Like
what you do. You were doing a
Sharknado.
weather thing there, yes.
Oh my god. And then I've also written down up here, oh my god, I want to die. The Yes and Gang.
Yes, and gang. Oh.
Hug. Like a play on the Red Hand Gang.
Yeah.
Kill me. and The Unusual Suspects, and also The Fifth Quarter, which is one of my favourite expressions. Do you know that expression?
No,
so basically, you use it in meat marketing, and the fifth quarter is something. My husband and I think this is the funniest expression because it's about mechanically retrieved meat.
Oh, lovely.
So basically it's about grinding up parts of the animal that aren't necessarily your best cuts.
Right, yeah.
So, there's no longer four quarters. You can use this fifth quarter, and it's about maximising your profit if you're in the meat industry.
Wow.
So as a vegetarian, I'm sure you would completely appreciate that.
Well, yes, and I also
expression.
think it sounds a great name for an improv night because you're getting all those bits that you would not normally use, and you're grinding them up to make
Stuart,
something.
I knew I should have done that one.
Oh, it's so confusing.
We'll change it.
Also, the fifth quarter, that sounds like a really exciting part of a city where you don't normally go, but you end up going there, and then it's like that's where the interesting things happen. But that's just a made-up thing I've made up.
No, it's cool. Like, I see what you mean. Like the French Quarter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But you go beyond the French Quarter to the fifth one.
Like a new dimension.
Yeah, exactly. It's my favourite part of any city. That's where I always
genius. Hang out. Okay, great.
That's brilliant. I love that. I love the rejected names that you have for things.
Yes, indeed. So that was.
So why did you choose Duck Duck Goose?
I don't know. I think that was the moment when Waleed just went, "That's great. Let's use that one. Vic, just stop talking." So yeah,
there are two parts of Duck Duck Goose. One is the jam, and one is the acts. So if we just talk about the jam for a second, what's your advice for people who are not feeling confident about jamming? What do you think about that? I will say I really appreciate the DDGers who are looking after people in the jam, and actually that's really supportive, keeping an eye on who maybe hasn't done something for a while or is
you're saying that like you've noticed it. Have you noticed it?
Yeah, I have noticed it.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yes,
because we have dedicated jam captains.
Yes.
We take it really seriously. I actually just I'm in the process of writing a blog.
Yeah.
I just thought, everyone else does.
Yeah.
Just get on with it. so I was just writing down some thoughts, and I wrote down that for me the number one priority is safe space.
Yeah.
Because you can be funny if it's not a safe space, but it's probably going to be at someone else's expense.
Yeah.
And it might be, personally, even if it's low level, traumatizing, potentially. So I think funny, I think you can have just to keep banging on about something being a comedy night creates this tyranny of funny, and I don't necessarily agree with it. This is because, basically, I've created this philosophy because I'm not funny. So it's my safety net, right?
Yeah.
So I've decided that funny doesn't matter.
Right, okay.
But for me, funny comes second to safe space because everyone can be funny in a safe space.
Yes.
So yes, it's about making sure that people feel appreciated.
Yes.
And it's also about making everyone feel like they have a right to be there, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, trying to do that.
Because I find jams, less so now, but certainly when I started, an immensely traumatic experience.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm terrified of them. And by coming along to Duck Duck Goose, I've generally, I wouldn't say, I'm almost at the stage where I'm enjoying them now.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
You're very brave.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I find jams difficult. Or I used to. I'm extremely hard on myself. So I have this awful attitude that everything has to be perfect and no one wants to hear what I have to say anyway. So it's hard to feel relaxed in that. It's your amygdala, isn't it? It's basically just fight or flight responses that you have to either suppress or cultivate into something else in order to be able to bring your best work. So having just finished a 9-day Keith Johnston intensive, I felt completely liberated. I felt like he completely managed to assuage some kind of primal fear in me since the moment I started improvising, which is that you have to be good, that you have to bring your best work. And he's made me realise that, be professional. Turn up on time, try and serve your scene fellows, have fun. But he just kept repeating, be average.
Wow.
Please don't do your best. Please don't try your best.
Yeah.
Because you can't. Because you will try too hard. You'll get all up in your head. You'll make it difficult for other people. And you won't be as good as you want to be. But if you are just average, then you will simply... If you fulfill the brief, that's a tick, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to feel like you've got it right. And if being average is the thing that you wanted to do, then that's an achievable goal.
Yes.
In any scene or show or class or
situation.
Course.
Yes,
exactly.
And that's great advice. I mean, I found that I found the Duck Duck Goose jams a lot easier when I gave myself permission, even less of being average, more just I have permission to do the worst improv that has ever been done, and that's fine, and nobody cares. Nobody chucks you out of the improv scene for doing a terrible scene. To be honest, probably nobody thinks it's as terrible as you did, because the inner critic is much more severe than the external critics.
100%. And actually, Katie Shute talks about that in her book, about how people care about your scene far less. They're all up in their own heads. Everyone,
yes, exactly.
Look, it's not that we're not a lovely, caring community. Narcissists. We're not. It's just that you want to. You're more interested in how you did, potentially,
than anybody else did. And that's fine.
It's all fine. My favourite scene with you in it ever was a DDG Christmas show, and we even have a beautiful photo of it. I need to get it on the website. It's really good. It's you and Chris Mead.
Yes.
And Chris is playing a slightly cranky dinosaur. And it's a T-Rex type of dinosaur, and you're in his study, and he pours himself a whiskey, and you can tell quite clearly that it's quite a weighted tumbler, good quality crystal, and there's just such beauty in it, and you just have a beautiful expression on your face saying, "I'm in my happy place." It's really fun.
Yes, that was a really fun scene to play. Although it was happening so quickly, I was a bit confused, and I was on a roller coaster, but it was a fun roller coaster.
That's improvising with Chris Mead. You're on a roller coaster, aren't you?
Yeah, and you was going to a fun place.
The fun.
Let's talk a bit more about your Keith Johnston course that you did. What was it like studying with the master?
It was incredible. There was quite a few of us in the room, and it was a kind of a master pupil setup.
Yeah.
And he was, he's as my friend would say, he's 3 days older than God. So he quite likes sitting on the sofa and telling you some anecdotes. But he's extremely good at it.
Yes.
And he also got us doing stuff that I've never done before in a class. Literally, I think day 2, I found myself lying back on the sofa with my arms behind my head, being tied up with another improviser's actual belt. And he does not do any preamble about safe space off the top.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is, you're like, okay. And actually, I really trusted the person that I was in the scene with, even though he was a total stranger, just because but because you're each trying to keep the status that you've chosen secretly in your head.
Yeah.
And I'd chosen one.
Right.
And obviously so had Ben. So we were both trying to win the scene, if you know what I mean. So that was really interesting. And that came out really clearly as we were doing this scene. And then the son comes home, and I think, oh my God, I think even he'd decided to identify Ben as a 1 and me as a 2 or something. I can't remember. Anyway, he was pretty high status as well. But it just ended up being a really meaty scene.
Yeah.
Because we just had these internal objectives that drove us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a very exciting 9 days.
Yeah.
9 days without a break.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That
I was
sounds really intense.
absolutely hanging by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's nice that, he's still around and, able to... I don't know, I always imagine that whenever I'm involved in something, that the people that created it will be, in the past, whereas he's still in the present.
He's very much in the present, and so I was really excited to be able to take the class.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Everyone has moments where they might not completely agree with their teacher, but and I never actually sort of bought into the cult of Keith necessarily. But I ended up being a huge fan and just feeling extremely safe and secure around him.
Yeah.
And I got him to sign I bought an Improv for storytellers, and I got him to sign it. And on the last day, I think, and he wrote, "Hi Victoria," and then in backwards writing, in brackets underneath, in backwards writing, mirror writing, he wrote, "Don't be original."
Right.
And then wrote Keith Johnston, London 2017. But yeah, so yeah, I'm a fan.
Cool.
Yeah.
And would you, I'd like you to maybe, if you can, define your improv style, as in, do you think you're Johnstonian in your approach, or do you think you're more sketch-based, UCB, or...
Okay, so that's an interesting question, and it's... I'm not yet far enough down the line to completely be able to understand what it is that I stand for. I think effectively I'm just a total mongrel and a magpie who just picks up whatever might be flying past her nose at the time. And because I'm older than a lot of people on the scene, but have only been doing it for around 6 years, I think that if there's a course that I can possibly afford and I can get on it, I will do it, because I want to be really good at this. As well, while also being average. So I have trained with a lot of different people. I've never been to America, which I'd really like to do. I'd like to go into Chicago, or with Second City, or IO West as well. The Nursery Theatre brought Jason Schatz and Colleen Doyle over, who are two people called Dummy, and they're also teachers at IO West. And that was mind blowing. So I had Jason for a week and really enjoyed what he was saying. And he talks about boat work, so about finding the thing that both of you are interested in. So like, for instance, say running an exercise whereby I say to you, "Oh my gosh, I love sausages so much." You can't say that because you're vegetarian, for instance, but you can find whatever act is closest to that and just say, "Yeah, well, I enjoy cooking. That's my love." So then you end up sort of being on the same page. And that's an interesting way of getting on the same page and being able to support each other in a yes and kind of way. I really appreciate Johnstonian ethos, and I thought it was a bit theatre-y, darling, a while back, but I can appreciate it now, because I see how visceral it is. It gets straight to the heart of things. I took a class with Patty Stiles quite recently, and she's obviously phenomenal, and the direct line from Keith. And she was talking about how the first offer is the very first thing that you see from your scene partner. So it might even just be an expression or just the slightest movement of body, and that's the first offer. And that's really interesting, because having done Monkey Toast for 4 or 5 terms, whereby and I agree with this as well, whereby if someone comes out and they do space work, then their scene partner will probably give them the courtesy of the first line because they've had an idea.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like almost an opposite ethos from maybe Johnstonian principle, whereby you can start doing a thing and then the other person maybe will comment on it. Do you see what I mean? I'm tying myself in knots, so it's like ridiculous. I have I have lots of different thoughts on it.
Yes.
And I'm still working out what I
Yeah.
enjoy the most.
And, you know, there's not one true way of doing it, and knowing there are different approaches for different scenes, you know,
Yes.
you can approach it in different ways. I think that's a healthy approach.
Yes.
Tell me about Gorilla Panic.
Okay. It's a two-prov that I do with one of Team DDG, Steph. And it's really fun. Yeah. We're called that because it's just a bit in the film Ted when they're just naming tons and tons of different types of weed. And Gorilla Panic is one of them.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's not, yeah.
So what sort of style stuff would you say that you do?
So it's interesting to see where each two-prov is different, and that's a beautiful thing. You just ignite different things in each other. And having done an amazing two-prov course with Jules Munns of the Nursery Theatre, oh my gosh, if he runs it again, guys, you need to do that. It's really exciting. But you can see what you're interested in. And actually what seems to happen with Steph and I is that we always end up killing each other in some way or another. That will probably stop. That's probably just a sort of like a gut reaction, a fear. It's a knee-jerk fear reaction. But it happens more and more often. Not more and more often, but it happens regularly. And it's I don't know, we try and be quite physical. But Steph is the nicest person in the world. So he's even, you know, in our DuckDuckTales team, we call him the lovable protag because he's just adorable. Everyone loves him. So he finds it really difficult to play nasty characters. Right. Even the nasty characters he plays kind of end up being nice, or just so. We've been given strict notes for him to play nasty, which he did last time we played together.
Yeah.
And he literally shoved me under a bus. Well, not literally, that would be insane.
Yes, that would be insane.
And that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I've been exploring recently with John Kramer, and you know, when you are nice in real life and nice when you improvise, when you are able to bring out that darker side when you're performing, it just, you know, sometimes it really serves the scene well, and it's just
really absolutely exciting. I mean, luckily I'm a total bitch, so
you've already got that.
Yeah, exactly. So we each bring different things.
Yes.
But it's good to switch it up, obviously, otherwise it just gets samey. So yeah.
And how often do you rehearse?
Oh God, not often.
Yeah,
not often. We do try and get in half an hour earlier to the show, at least once a month, and rehearse that way. But we are also in a team together called DuckDuckTales, which is a narrative team, and so that's like one way we could just get to play together. And also, of course, we are in jams and. We are in jams together, but we're never in two-person scenes together because we have the rule that none of Team DDG are in two-person scenes with each other.
That's a nice rule.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that makes sure that everyone feels involved, and it's not, oh, I'm just sitting here watching the organisers have fun. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, no one wants to see us.
Well, you can't have too much of a good thing at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're also teaching. You're also teaching improv.
Yes. Yeah. So I made that switch, and I teach at Goldsmiths, which is where I did an MA in Applied Theatre.
Right.
A couple of years ago. I just completed that at the end of last year. And Applied Theatre is an umbrella term, so you can you can use whatever you like in order to facilitate socially engaged groups that will be of a certain type for teaching or therapeutic purpose. But because of my interest in improv, I kept bringing that to the party, and even my dissertation was on how improvisation can create agency and self-efficacy in adults with learning disabilities.
Wow.
So I worked with a group a few times, created some original research, blah, blah, blah. So I'm now happy to be teaching a short course at Goldsmiths. I think that runs from November. And that's really good fun. Beginners course. And I also teach at a place called the Mary Ward Centre, which is in town. And that's...
So what sort of things, what sort of things will you cover in those courses? Is it...
I make them play Mind Meld for an hour. I don't. That doesn't happen.
I hate Mind Meld.
Oh my God.
Really hate Mind Meld.
Get
I'm
out.
good at it. I'm good at it.
Are
Don't
you?
get me wrong, I'm good at it. But I'm like, can't we just do like some scenes or something like that?
Okay.
I just feel it takes forever.
Oh no, it's brilliant. That's the whole point. I would happily stand there for an hour
Really?
playing it. Yeah, because okay. So what I say to people is, play it like you are, like you're happy robots looking for the correct data.
Oh right, okay.
So if you do that, then you can take all day and it's all fine, and you feel relaxed about it. Because also another thing that Jason Schatz was good at pointing out with me particularly, was the way that one's face can change. And so you're sort of a bit screwing your face up, or seeing if you're happy with what you're about to say,
Right.
or that you're rejecting what you've just said. And he ingrained in us that so much of life is about body language.
Yes.
Just check your body, get in the habit of checking your body language.
Yes.
And don't, for instance, if you're in a jam, stand on the side watching something, with your chin on your hand,
Right.
like you're doing what I think Susan Messing calls auditioning the scene. Don't, just be neutral and ready.
Yes.
So I think Mind Meld is really good for that.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a level 2 Mind Meld that I've not previously experienced when I've done it.
Should we play now?
No.
Get out.
I know I'm breaking all the improv rules, but if you never say no, then can you ever really truly say yes?
That's too clever. I don't understand what you just said. But I agree with it.
I'm reading a book on sensation at the moment.
Neither am I.
And it's, basically one of the messages, which I thought was interesting, was that if you never say no, then you can never truly say yes.
Yeah.
If you're in a relationship.
Okay.
And you need to be clear about, you can't properly say yes. I'm just going to say the same thing again.
No, I like it. So this isn't in a relationship. Okay. This isn't about unloading the dishwasher, is it?
No, this is... no, this is more for more intimate matters.
But Keith, oh my gosh. So Keith had... now I'm looking in my Keith notes, guys. Notes. There was a moment with Keith where he starts talking about orgasms. And I said that in a really weird way. And it's about how... it's the angry family, for instance, and so you all have to be angry, and he teaches you a way of pulling your jaw and exposing your lower teeth in order to all look angry, and it's really fun and interesting. And then it's the super, I think, happy family or relaxed family, I can't remember. And then he talks about going into the orgasmic family.
Wow.
And then he said, "Oh, should we run this? Yes, let's do this. Can we have the orgasmic family up, please?" And thank God for the Europeans in the room, because we did get 3 people up immediately. They were all not from the UK. It's hilarious. And they did it brilliantly.
So what
They did.
does the orgasmic?
You have to just all behave like you're on the brink of orgasm while you're running a scene.
Wow.
That's how I remember it. I think that happened. You go into a bit of listen, when you've done Keith for 9 days straight, you go into a bit of a fugue state.
So you're also a teacher of improv.
Yes, I am now. Yes, indeed.
Tell me about teaching in Goldsmiths. You were about to, and then I interrupted you.
No,
I
not at all.
apologise for that.
It's totally cool. It's totally cool. Yes, I teach a short course at Goldsmiths where I did my MA.
Your MA was in
Applied theatre.
Oh, right, lovely. What does that mean?
That means socially engaged theatre for specific groups for teaching or therapeutic purpose.
Wow.
Yeah. So I run classes with elders in Holborn and with adults with learning disabilities down in Deptford. Things like that.
Brilliant.
So at Goldsmiths, I now do a short course on Wednesday evenings, which start in November, and so that can be found on the Goldsmiths College website. And I also am now. I'm very proud to say that I'm a part of the faculty at Hoopla.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm a supply teacher at the
Lovely.
moment. Yeah.
Wow.
So I stand in when other people are, I don't know, doing a show that night or something, so they can't teach their class. But hopefully next year I'll get to run a course of my own, which would be nice. And so of course when I'm working for Hoopla, I would totally follow their teaching setup and their practice. But I think I have had a really extensive and eclectic training, and some people find, say, for instance, Chicago style improv, and that's their thing, and they stick to it, and that's what they do. That's the philosophy they follow. But I've had so much different engagement with this form across the 6 years that I've trained with people like Second City, UCB, IO. I've done some clown and commedia dell'arte, and I've done the Johnstonian stuff as well. So I think that it's been really difficult to process, but it's finally all sort of clicking into place, and I feel like I'm beginning to emerge as some kind of player and facilitator who has I don't know, maybe kind of 4 main pillars of principle, like, so for instance, connection, relationship, safety, and positive body language feel to me to be the things that I'm kind of most drawn towards, I suppose, or that I find most deeply entrenched, even when I'm not thinking about it in the room when I'm teaching.
So can we explore each of those in turn and just maybe sort of see what you mean by each of them, starting with connection?
Connection, I suppose, I've just really been in deep with that with Keith Johnston, and I really enjoy it. So I suppose connection and relationship are akin, but it's really just about, I suppose, being in the moment, trying very hard to react straight off the back of what you've just been given or what is in the scene, not using safety nets, like talking about the past, talking about the future, talking about people who aren't there. I mean, it's obvious stuff if you're interested in this stuff, but it's just something that I really try to keep front of mind.
Well, sometimes obvious things need to be pointed out. Most often things are only actually obvious in retrospect, which suggests that perhaps they're not so obvious after all.
And then there's safety, which is safe space is something that I'm really interested in. And actually, when I'm doing my courses at Goldsmiths, there's something very specific that I do in week 3, when everyone's bedded in and they've got to know each other, that I think just sort of, it just rises to the surface in a really interesting way in any facilitation space after you've been together for a bit, which is to do with one's inner critic. And I just do a thing about addressing that and trying to find an internal sense of safety. And run a little thing that I've never seen in any other room. I feel like I sort of, I don't know, invented it. Of course, other people will have done a thing like this or even the same as it. But can
you tell me what it is?
No, you can come along and find out what it is if you
Broadly.
want. But it's genuinely about addressing your inner critic.
Right.
It's about having that conversation and seeing what comes out. And it's a kind of a risky thing to do, because people can realize what has been embedded in the back of their mind, and that might make them more nervous or less safe in a space or with a group of people, or if they're on stage improvising. But I feel like to address it is to confront the elephant in the room. And therefore, I've had people say to me regularly, "Thank you so much. That was exactly what I needed to do with myself, and it's something that I can activate at any time now."
Wow.
If I'm in a position whereby I might feel in a difficult state because of feeling nervous or feeling like I'm not being kind enough to myself that I could be. So I feel like it gives my students agency in managing their internal sense of safety and validation. It's kind of about activating that while also simultaneously upping your skill level in technique terms as well. And the fourth one is positive body language, which I learnt off Jason Schatz of Dummy when he was here for the IO West Intensive. And literally within the first 2 hours, he was talking about it and being very clear about being neutral and positive, and getting rid of habits that mean you screw up your face or you kind of close off your body, fold your arms, become quieter. And it was just really interesting that one can literally train oneself out of that. And of course, people do this all the time. They do it in business for improv, setups all the time. And actually, I'm starting a business for improv with Francesca Reed, who's fabulous improviser and a facilitator herself as well. It's called the Offer Bank, but that's something that we've been talking about a lot, is positive body language, and how if you're confident, if you behave in a confident manner, then people treat you differently, and you also perceive yourself differently as well. So this is, it's page 1 of how to manage yourself in business as well. But I think it's really interesting to see it through the improv filter, and to maybe give that perspective to people who are in business and who don't necessarily get the chance to play that often. And they're often in a very competitive environment.
Cool.
Yeah.
You also teach in another place?
Oh yeah, so I teach also improv for beginners at the Mary Ward Centre, which is also really fun, and just running that termly as well.
So with Hoopla, there's a kind of a syllabus, but for Goldsmiths and what's the other one?
Mary Ward Centre. Yeah, I'm building those myself.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
How do you decide what to teach beginners?
Oh, it's so fun. You decide through a number of different routes. I love planning sessions, but then I also love just going with the flow and seeing what the group wants, and what will serve them best. Because this is the most interesting thing when you start facilitating, seeing how every group is different, and just one person not being there that week, or a difficult sense in the room of a global news thing that's happened will change the atmosphere. People bring different stuff to the session every time without even realizing it. And of course you bring your own stuff as well. So it's really good to see that as a dynamic in its own right. And that's really interesting.
I mean, I see a parallel when I'm teaching web design. My lessons are planned within an inch of their lives, but I do that so that if we want to explore something else or pick up something that someone's asked, we can do that, because I've got everything set out and ready, and I can just build on that, and we can do something different. But I have to have that firm basis of preparation.
Absolutely.
So I can improvise, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to have the both. And actually, I have to work hard now not to fall back on my plan too much and ignore what's happening in the room.
Yeah.
So for instance, I coach as well. I coach a brilliant team called Improfessional, who are fantastic at short form stuff and are moving into scenes based stuff. So I'm really enjoying that tension. It's really fun. And I guest coach for the Faux Pas, who also do the same kind of thing. And it's great to have an arc for a few months worth of what they want to get out of it, and to work towards that, but also just to tear that up in the room if something suddenly happens that is just igniting a moment in the room. It's really fun.
So what's your approach if a group comes to you and asks to be coached by you? What's your sort of process for this?
Definitely to see where they're at, what shape they're in, what they want to do, and where they want to take it. Is this what they want to be achieving in the next 6 months to a year, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll coach them, I'll say weekly for a certain period of time.
Really, it just depends. It
yeah.
depends.
Yeah.
I mean, every team's different,
yeah.
and everyone's so busy.
Yeah,
there's so much improv going on
at
the moment, but then people do book in to do gigs on a regular basis, and they need to be match ready for that. You want to meet a team at least once every couple of months, I would say. But it ebbs and flows, and sometimes like for instance, Improfessional are all actors, and so they have a busy summer schedule, and then they have a busy winter schedule as well, because those are the kind of two peak acting times, often going on tour or doing panto or whatever it might be. So I tend to see them around those outside of those two different moments.
Cool. Maybe thinking a little bit more about your sort of improv philosophy, I'm going to ask one of the tough questions. And maybe the two will be linked, but do you have a signature move? Is there something you do that people go, hey, classic Vic, she saved the night again. She's a classic move.
They never say that. That wouldn't happen.
In their hearts, they say that.
My signature move used to be not to make a choice,
Really?
not to put my stamp on a scene, to the point where I actually got called out on it in a workshop. Oh my God. Whereby we were all invited to just do stuff for each other. Haven't got to know each other across a few days. We invited to do stuff for each other that we know that other person inspired in us, or that they did a lot, or that they'd enjoy. And I got called out for not actually putting my stamp on something. So I try very hard to do that now. Yeah. But no, No, I don't know. I think if I'm honest, I'm a caretaker. If you look at Katie Schute's book, she has a kind of a system that she talks about, and I think that in those terms, I think I'm the caretaker.
All right. What does the caretaker do?
They just look for where a scene might need balance or a bit of input, and they try to put it in there. And the trouble with that is that it means that you don't put your fun first. And actually, it's quite a good idea to just sort of have the fun sometimes. And I don't know. I think I'm trying very hard to have more fun on stage.
Right.
Yeah, it's working. It's definitely working.
Good. I'm
dicking about a lot more than I have done.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have that caretaker skill set, so you can contribute that to the scene, but then also to have the ability to have fun and to bring new things and that sort of stuff. So that sounds good.
Yeah, we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
And you're always trying to push for things that you aren't you aren't so good at, or that you really enjoy? Okay, so there's a guy at DDG who's a regular, who's called Tim, and he always surprises me. He's always doing something unexpected, and I like it, because I end up in scenes with him or in jam with him whereby he's really pushing me to up my game, and to take it to a point whereby, you know, he's gone to, or, you know, there's something ridiculous that we're just enjoying framing, and it's inspiring.
Cool. So yeah, what's your improv philosophy? If there was going to be the Victoria Hogg School of Improv, what would you be teaching?
I think, as I've said, it's about safe space and having fun within that. And
it's interesting, because when you talk about safe space, you're primarily talking about internal safe space, as opposed to, because I've heard it talk about, you know, making a safe space for people to perform and feel comfortable, but that's always been external as opposed to the internal.
I think they're both as important as each other. So you've got to build the scaffolding whereby people feel comfortable, but then you've got to give them permission to be nice to themselves as well.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So if someone were to be on a stage with you, what could they do to delight you?
It's a good question. Jules Munn's taught me that question.
I'm sure I've stolen it from you.
I like that question. Okay, how may they delight me? Okay, so I think I really enjoy fun space work.
Right.
I like doing it, and I like it when people set up a space so that it feels tangible as to where we are, and that we can enjoy that, and we're not just talking heads. I like doing all manner of European accents.
Oh, really?
So that's always fun.
Just Europe, not the rest of the world.
Well,
curious.
I can go as far as America, I suppose.
Do you practice the accents?
No, I used to.
Really?
I should start doing that again. Yeah.
How did you practice your accents?
Just by chatting to my kid and my husband.
Did you warn them? Did you warn them you were going to do this, or would you just come home and it would be Swedish Vic?
No. They're both hilarious. They'll probably start it in the first place. Yeah. And yeah, how can you delight me? I don't know. Yeah, just by I suppose surprising me. As I said, you know, I'm all about having fun at the moment, and so anything that ignites that is wonderful.
I made this.
That's improv!